Hello everyone. Today I will discuss an important fundamental concept in the whole DevOps ecosystem, which is continuous integration, continuous delivery, or CICD, and the necessity of automation in modern development. So before going deeper, we have to understand what is automation, why automation, and what specific problem this whole automation or CICD script fixes. We have to understand that very clearly. This is, from my perspective, the most important concept in deploying modern applications. So if we try to figure out what is a typical deployment process, okay, before going to deployment, let's discuss one thing here. So developer, right? For example, we have 3 developer. They all write code in 3 different laptops, right? And then push the 3 code and merge them. It's called merge, and then all the code is here. For example, in the dev branch of that project in GitHub. Okay, so this is and then, for example, if 3 developer, 1 2 3, they push, and then the senior developer merge the code, and then the dev branch is created, then how will the dev team deploy the application and test the application on their local system? So after pushing to dev branch, what they will do, they will take their local machine, and they will try to build and test the application in the local environment on the laptop. So this concept is extremely important and you have to understand it very clearly, that if I am referencing to a React application for simplicity, then I will say that first you have to install Node.js, and then you have to initialize npm, and then maybe npm start at some point. Okay, so these requirements are coming from the dev team, because they know what tool they used and how to run that on website or any required thing. It can be related to any development workflow. This tool, this node npm node package manager, these tools, or we have pip, Gunicorn, or different things like Maven if we go to Java system, and these are actually build tool. So developer write their code. This is a VS Code. Maybe here is the terminal. This is the folder structure. They, in the terminal, they go to their project root directory, and then they run different things step by step. What I'm trying to say, that they are doing things in step. Like step 1, they install Node.js on the system. maybe before that they updated their machine, sudo apt update, and after that they check the node.js version, then npm I npm start, and then go to that endpoint of that application. I mean, open the browser, this is a Chrome browser, and then they put their IP localhost colon something, right? And before that we have https or different protocols. So the main thing to understand here, there are two things, if I tell you directly. That is, one, they are doing, for example, after finishing the code, when they git pull, after the git pull, for example, a developer follow 10 different steps for a deployment, for not deployment, building that application. Step 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. And another important thing is, after 10 they can maybe run 2 test script. This is for test script, and after these two things are successful, then after this 12th step they are giving a report like the build is successful. So what do they exactly mean by build is successful or local build is successful? Now you can deploy to server. So at this point we are not in any web server. So here you have to understand very clearly what is the difference between a local machine and a web server. Web server is also similar to local systems, or just a laptop or a computer with processor, hard disk, RAM. But the main difference between a local system and a web server is, local machine, we don't direct our IP to public, to the internet, the public facing internet, okay? But whenever you are, so you can use your computer as a server when you install a specific tool, which tool is called Nginx, Tomcat. For PHP there are different tools, I forgot right now. So for example, you installed Nginx on your machine, then it will act like a web server. The meaning of this line is, you can get data from the internet if Nginx is installed on that computer. If locally, then you will be able to only access the website with localhost command. So that's it. So that's a different thing. So we are getting one thing clearly for sure, which is Nginx, sorry, not Nginx, that there are primarily two systems. One is a local system, one is a server. So going back few seconds earlier, our developer completed 12 steps, 10 for building, 2 for testing, and they confirm that this build or this git repo at that specific hash, commit hash, is successful, build and tested. So now they ask the DevOps team that, okay, deploy me that application to your server. So they don't care about which server you are using, because that's up to the DevOps team. So they, for example, we're using EC2 instance. So what we have to do, we have to duplicate and replicate their environment, their laptop's environment to that machine. Also install necessary tools like Nginx or anything, or maybe configure security group, add different VPC, create custom private network or something. There are a lot of things you can do at that side. Okay, that's not the main concern of this video, how to set up all this thing. What I want to share that whenever you try to if your developer tells that my local testing and build is okay, now you deploy that application to server, so you can just manually do all things in server. You can just install Node.js, you can just do many things, blah blah, and you can do it. So here you need to follow this 12 step here on the EC2 machine as well. Also you have to follow different, you have to set up web server config file as well to make it internet facing, so that your server is up and running all the time. So the bottom line is, okay, here comes another concept which is called containerization. I will explain a minute later, but first try to understand the main concept here is you have to follow 12 step that your developer did in the server. So why don't you just make a script for that? That is called CICD, or the first part of CICD, which is continuous integration. You just replicate this 12 step in a script which is written in YML, or you can use different tool for that. GitHub Actions, Jenkins, they have the different positive negative side. I will talk about that later, but the main concept is this is called CI/CD, and after build and test of an specific project you get a build artifact. So this is a really important concept, and after you get the artifact, this is like a packet which signifies that this packet is ready for deployment to the server, and you can push it to server as you want. You can push this artifact into different repository like Nexus repository. Okay, another thing is the let me give you a hint of the evolution of containerization here. So after this 12 step we have to replicate it manually to our new computer, and it's a bit time consuming, also very tiring work. So Dockerization comes here, or containerization. They packet your application in with everything, every dependency. They have npm node, and you just run docker build, and they give you a docker image or a volume. If you have persistent data, then you can store it in Docker Hub or ECR or anywhere, then you can pull it. So this automation, the steps that developers are doing, and you have to replicate that same step in the production environment, that is called continuous integration. And continuous deployment or continuous delivery is a continuous process, and deployment is the finished process. So after you get that build artifact or the docker image and you push that to repository, maybe ECR or Docker Hub, then you set up your AWS ecosystem, or maybe connect. After the CI script is completed, then you start a continuous deployment script. Here you define how your AWS will behave, where to push, from where it will fetch the container or the artifact or something, how to run it, the port number, the port mapping, the environment variables. There are many things. You can do literally everything with this script. Also there are some health check issue, there are some rolling update issue. So ultimately This is a never ending concept. I can talk about it the whole day, but the summary is these steps. We are automating this whole manual process and putting it inside one script in GitHub Actions, which is called continuous integration, continuous delivery. So whenever we push anything on that repository, so if it get triggered, and it automatically run the script and do everything for you, and eventually you can just put everything on your GitHub ecosystem. We have GitOps here, and Terraform is also in. You can integrate your EC2 configuration without going to console. You can do it with Terraform very easily, so that you can. The main concept of DevOps is to minimize manual work as much as possible. So this is the main summary, to save time, to make deployment faster and automate boring stuff. So this is the main fundamental concept why DevOps engineers are different from server engineers or Linux administrator who solely rely on manual building. But DevOps introduce different way of thinking, different concept that you can apply to a project and make huge impact, make the whole process super smooth. So that was CICD. I will see you in the upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.